What do psychology, midwifery, and chickens have in common? Find out on this episode of Food, Flowers, and Fun when we visit with Franchesca Duval of Alchemist Farm. We are sponsored, as always, by Penlight for Farmers, helping overworked farm women clear away the barriers between them and their vibrant farm lives full of satisfaction, purpose, health, and peace. If you're the woman who does it all, farm work, housework, bookwork, homework, getting up at the break of dawn, this is the podcast for you.
How do you multiply by fractions now?
Get away from the cares of the day. Restock, rootstock, feedstock, seedstock. Chat with women around the world to raise food, flowers, and fun. With your host, Kay Castrataro. That's me. So welcome to today's episode of Food, Flowers, and Fun. I am your host, Kay Castrataro, and today I am just so excited to have Franchesca Duval from the Alchemist Farm with us. She is a chicken midwife, basically, and just the coolest woman. So I'm not going to say a whole lot more about you, Franchesca, because I'm going to let you tell your story. So tell us how you became a chicken midwife.
I love that that's how you introduce me as a chicken midwife. On the tail of all of my emails, the little subheader is the head chicken wrangler. That's how I normally refer to myself because that's what I seem to do around here mostly is wrangle chickens. But I also do hatch a lot of baby chicks. And so I do love being a chicken midwife. I'm the owner and founder of Alchemist Farm, which is a humane chicken hatchery in Northern California. And we offer many different breeds of beautiful chickens that lay fun, colored eggs that have all different personalities and beautiful feather types for different families to enjoy. We mostly ship our baby chicks to backyard families who want to have a little group of hens. And we believe that there is a chicken breed for everybody, just like there's a breed of cat or dog. And so we love getting to educate on the world of chickens and share what they are with the world because they have so much to offer us. They ask for so little and they give us so much in return. And I know from firsthand experience over this last decade of offering baby chicks to the world that they can have such a profound positive impact in people's lives. So it's an honor to make that my life work.
It wasn't originally going to be your life work, though. So tell us how you transitioned into this, because this was definitely not, career number one for you.
No, and I wonder if anybody knows their career number one from an early age. Maybe. It's always an interesting twist and turn path that leads us to where we're supposed to be. And I was originally studying psychology, graduated with a degree in psych, and thought that I would be some sort of a counselor, couples counselor, something like that. And when I was looking at graduate schools, I couldn't find the perfect fit. And so I was taking a gap year and really got into homesteading and met my husband and thought, well, in this homesteading journey, I think I actually want to do midwifery. I want to be able to help families in that way and help bring babies into the world. And so started studying that and attending births. And through that process, I realized, gosh, of attending births, I'm either going to be a midwife to many people, a wife to many people, or I can be a wife and a mother to my family. And I really had to choose. I didn't feel like I could sustainably do both. And so I chose my family. And that was a pretty hard choice because professionally, that's what I had geared myself up for so many years. And so I felt, I'm losing these years of my life. Am I wasting my time, kind of spinning my wheels here? And we had purchased our land at the same time that I was letting go of the midwifery dream. And we were starting to do a little homesteading here back before homesteading was cool. It was just wanting to be closer to the land and have a more of a simple life. And I went to order baby chicks because I knew I wanted to have chickens. I'd always had chickens in my life for 35 plus years. But when I went to order the baby chicks, I found out about the practices of most large scale hatchery of euthanizing male chicks when they're hatched, the excess male chicks that no one wanted. And something about that one piece really stuck in my heart and made me pause. And it felt like almost like a lightning bolt was going through me of I cannot support this. I need to do something different, but I don't know what.
Mm.
And it was this God-given moment. There every now and again there's these moments, and I don't know if you've experienced this or if the listener who's listening in right now has experienced this.
That's why we're here, because I had one of those moments.
Beautiful. Of like, pay attention. Something's different. Really focus because there's something here for you. And it was the chickens. And so I started to hatch for myself. And one thing led to another because I knew, okay, I can't support that. I got to do it myself. One thing led to another. And now we have the world's first humane hatchery where all of our birds are out on pasture. And I'm able to educate a lot on how the world can still interact with chickens in a way that treats them well, treats us well, treats the planet well. We're zero waste. We run entirely on solar power. We love educating people that these things are possible in their homes too. It doesn't have to be some scary thing where they're giving anything up. Really, they're gaining so much. And so it felt like God redirected my life and prepared me for this process because psychology is a perfect degree for my job of being a farmer and running a farm crew.
Shouldn't every farmer have a background in psychology just to stay sane? Not to mention dealing with customers and interpersonal relationships, but really that psychology does fit very well with agriculture.
It does. And midwifery and celebrating the
Yeah.
birth process and really honoring that life that's coming in. And so much of what I thought was a waste of time was actually all of these beautiful stepping stones. And so I learned to have mercy on myself in those years. And even now, when I find myself in moments of like, what is even happening? Why is this happening? This is not how I envision things. I have to step back and be like, I'm seeing it in the micro. I got to see it in the macro. God has a plan for me, and I just need to keep stepping forward with integrity.
Yes. Oh, I told so much about what you said is just like resonating with me right now. That idea of looking back and thinking, "Ugh, I wasted this time, or I wasted that opportunity, or had I done this differently, I'd be in a different place." And how that's not it. Like where you are now, you have everything that you need to be where you are now and to do the thing that you are called to do now. And without those wasted things, you wouldn't be able to do what you do as well. And I know that I found that in my life where I'm like, oh yeah, I taught middle school and high school English for 2 years. Oh, that was a waste of a, master's degree in education. And yet here I am educating people all the time about how to support themselves, working with farmers and using all of those skills in ways that I never expected to. But that's the miracle of what God does with us is that he takes us through this journey that we could never have planned for ourselves. And he does make something beautiful out of it. And I love that whole vision that you have for that. And I also was really struck by your talk about the sustainability and the interconnectedness of your experiences in the chickens and the environment and how that really transcends livestock, I think. Like it transcends the specifics of chickens and moves into where we all really can make a change for ourselves. What do you like how do you see that expanding beyond just the chicken world?
Oh, it can be anywhere. And I love um, offering that call to action, not a challenge, but just that inspiration for anybody, no matter what sector or business they're in. They can look around and see how could I make this better for the planet, for the people around me? How could I be in more integrity with everything that I'm doing every step along the way? And suddenly things will be revealed. If we ask for those kinds of answers to be given to us, they will be given. I had an amazing therapist who talked about speaking with God as if we were in a restaurant and needing to be really clear for what we're ordering from the menu. And God will just give us every experience that, like, things will come our way. But if we're like, God, I'd really like to be able to, whatever, serve in a certain capacity. It's like ordering a cheeseburger versus ordering, a,
Yep.
a grilled cheese or something. Like, God needs to know what kind of things to put in our path to be able to help us along the way so that we can be of greatest service. And so you got to know what you're asking for. Think in this cosmic restaurant conversation of of life.
And I
So
sometimes find that I order a cheeseburger and he gives me a hot dog. And I'm like, I didn't want a cheeseburger. I wanted a hot dog. And yet, when after a little while, I realized that that hot dog was exactly what I needed. So, in order to get to the real end point, like so many
exactly.
times, so it's that really interesting tension between having the vision and saying, no, this is what I want, and also being open to the fact that sometimes what we think we want isn't really where we're going to end up because there's something greater beyond that. And that initial goal might change. Kind of like, I'm going to be a counselor. I'm going to be a midwife. Oh, no, what I'm really going to do is take care of chickens and help show the world that there is a different way to raise chickens. And I find that really inspiring too, because I think one of the things that kind of hurts my heart when I look at farming a lot of the times is that people lose that sense of potential, like the
Mm.
idea that things can be different, and it's not just in farming. I mean, look at our world right now. Like so many things are being done under the name of, well, you just can't have it a better way than this. Like this is the best it can be. And I
Mm.
don't subscribe to that. And I think for farmers, especially, it's like if we could let go of some of those preconceptions about what farming looks like, what it means to be a good farmer, um, what it means to be happy and successful as a farmer. If we could let some of that go and open ourselves to a new way of seeing and being, I think it could be really revolutionary. I think we'd have a lot better impacts on farmers, the environment, and the people that we serve.
Yep. It all starts with us. And the moment that each of us realizes that we are in control of our emotional state, we cannot always be in control of the circumstances around us, but we can absolutely choose how we're going to react to them. And one person's terrible day is another person's best day, depending on how they view it and how they're going to be interacting with the world. So things don't always have to be one way. They don't always have to be the same. For a while, I did feel like things just had to be one way, and I was really letting the external happenings of the farm affect my mental health or physical health, if there were different stressors or things happening. And I was really getting like push pulled in all these different directions. And I had to stop and be like, okay, this is my experience in life. I only get one life here. I can change how I feel about all of this. I can find things to be grateful for. I can view every single one of these challenges as an invitation to get creative for my creator and not feel like I'm being punished or just like being drugged over the coals, like these are all things to make us stronger. And sometimes also the answer is just I've found to pray for acceptance and then the tests stop coming. For a while I'd pray for strength and I would be given challenge after challenge that would strengthen me. I don't pray for strength anymore. I pray for perseverance. I pray for wisdom,
I
open
tell my
open
kids I don't
mind.
pray for patience. I was 16 years old and I asked God, I remember sitting in my bed and praying that God would make me patient. And that don't ever pray for patience because just like being praying for strength, the only way you get patient is by having a whole lot of things that make you feel impatient. so, so I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, don't pray that prayer. They've actually told other adults, they're like, you never pray for patience.
So funny. And so true. We don't even realize, and that's what I mean about that restaurant analogy. Prayer is like putting in our order, right? Like, be careful what you pray for.
He
Like,
says, okay, you want to
the
be more noble, I'll make you noble.
yeah, the patience was that hot dog. Actually, I do not
Yeah,
want that. Thank you.
just kidding. So tell me how you came around to that shift. Like what are some practical steps that you took to deal with the external stressors. And, if you're willing to share some of those external stressors, I'm sure that everybody would really benefit from it. But I also know that I always want to give people as much room to share what they're comfortable with and not share what they're not comfortable with. But if you could at least give us some strategies that you've used, I think that's helpful.
Really getting to know myself well and be super honest with my introspective work
Mm.
was very helpful. And what I realized is I was very, very stubborn and wanted to keep doing things in a way that I thought needed to be done. Like, I just have to keep working harder. If I just put in more hours, then it's going to be, things will make sense. And what was happening was I was slowly wearing myself down, 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 as opposed to taking a step back and saying, okay, how can I radically change all of these systems that I'm pouring? Okay, an example. All of our chicken watering systems were just the simple waterers that like a backyard chicken keeper would have that are just like on the ground and it's water. I was going out there with my baby on my back 3 times a day, changing the waters. And
Oh.
that was so many hours of labor. And I was getting tired and I was exhausted and I wasn't able to do other things to further our farm and our business. And then finally, I was just gave up. I looked at my husband and I said, I gotta do something. I need help. I gotta do something different. And he said, well, let's take the time. You're spending 3 hours a day doing that. Let's slow down and let's spend 3 hours designing something different. And I
Mm.
was so on this track of like, I just got to do it. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time that I didn't give myself the space to slow down. But when I slowed down and looked, I'm like, okay, change that narrative. There absolutely is time for everything. It's just how we spend it. Right
Mm.
now, I'm going to spend that time on designing something that's going to save me time. And when we're really in it and we're just feeling overwhelmed by the chores, they are owning us. The farm is owning us.
Yes.
And
Ugh.
there is a way to be able to build things smarter. It doesn't mean that you're any less of a farmer or that you're cheating or anything. To be able to give yourself some headspace so you can design more systems that are better and more effective. Now we have an automatic watering system that comes in on a timer to these beautiful big barrels where it's gravity fed water that is in a nipple system that goes to the chickens outside. Their water's cleaner, it's better for them. That's 3 hours a day that I get back. And that's one of many examples where I was really stubborn, feeling like this is how I've done it. It just needs to keep going this way.
Mm.
And it was taxing me, taking me away from my family, and causing me all sorts of issues.
Yeah,
And
and it's tough. As I'm hearing your story, I'm reminded of when my son was a newborn and I had horses. And so every morning, you got to go out, you got to do chores, you got to feed the animals, you got to clean the stalls. And he was a baby. And so I had a playpen set up in our grain room, and I would put him in the playpen and he would cry. And I would sing to him. And I like was constantly torn, but because I wanted to have him on my back, but I had horses. And I was like, you can't be safe. Like, yeah, I trust my horses with everybody except my baby. Like, I'm not gonna,
yeah.
because things happen, you know how it is. Things happen with livestock. And so, like, we spent so much time out there. And looking back, it's like, wow, I wonder if there had been a better way to do that. If I had adjusted my schedule a little bit, like what if I had like done it earlier in the morning when my husband at the time was still here, or like so many things that as I'm hearing your story, I'm like, man, there were probably a lot of creative solutions I could have come up to save my son and I a lot of stress. And yet, like you said, you're in the middle of it. And it's just like, well, you got to do the chores. Like you got
Yep.
to do it. So, and
Yep.
you got to do it this time, this way. And that is something that I've definitely learned is that we've got to stop putting, I love what you say about the farm owning us. Like we don't want our farms to own us. We want to have the farm supporting what makes us satisfied, like what meets our goals and values. That's what the farm should be doing. At least this is my mission in life, is to get people to say, when you're just letting the farm run you, you're going to be destroyed in the process,
Yeah.
because the farm is always going to ask for things that you can't or don't want to give them.
Mhm.
So if you start and say, no, this is what's important, I'm important, my family's important, these are the priorities. And then what do I have to do to change, like you said, that system, the whole farm system, if you need to? Do I need to grow different crops? Do I need to reduce? Do I need to expand? Like all kinds of things that you can do, and not look at that as a judgment. Like if you go part-time instead of full-time, that doesn't make you less of a farmer. It means that you're using your farm to support your needs and not losing yourself in it.
Yep.
Love that about what you're sharing. Absolutely love that.
I view the farm, and so some people also make the farm a business. Some people, the farm is like a hobby or a lifestyle, a homesteading hobby.
Mhm.
Regardless if it's a business or a homesteading hobby, it's like a marriage.
Mm.
It's like any marriage, and I feel like there's going to be some give and take. There are some times when the farm needs more from me and I can give it. And there's other times where I have to be really careful and not be codependent and give too much of myself.
Oh,
And not sleep and not be able to, uh, particularly on the business side of things with customer service. Like there has to be, because we're working from home, and most farmers are working from home. It's right out their back door. Their office is right there. Everything's right there. And there has to be some sort of healthy mental separation of, okay, I'm working right now versus, and now I'm in family mode or self preservation mode. And really like compartmentalizing those in our head
yeah.
is really powerful. So we don't have that codependency of, if people, you don't know what that term is, it's useful to look up, and then just most people use it in terms of like romantic relationships, but it can also just put it on your farm and
Mm.
see if you're a match, because if you're feeling totally burnt out, you might be, and it'll change the way that you look at your farming and your business and how you're running it.
Yeah, it's having that separation where you and the farm are not the same thing. Like
Yep.
the success of the farm is not necessarily the success of you as a person, and your success is not dependent upon, some standard that you're holding for the farm. And I think that is super, super important. I'm not currently full-time farming anymore, but I work from my house, and like you don't see this, but there are no walls where I am. Like this leads into my kitchen, leads into where we eat slash living room. I have a small house, so it's like there is no physical delineation, and I find it really difficult to turn off work mode and just go into mom mode.
Yep.
Um, and so I'm wondering how you've done that successfully, or more or less
Uh,
successfully. I know we all struggle with it. So success, again, we use success on a continuum. They're like, this is, I subscribe to the Weight Watchers theme of progress, not perfection. So
yeah.
small things, find the small things that save you.
Yeah. I think I would love to say that I have gracefully walked that tightrope the entire decade I've been running the farm business. I have not.
Mhm.
When I was pregnant with my second child, I went into labor on Tuesday. Tuesday's my shipping day.
Ugh.
And at the time, I didn't have the system set up. I didn't put the time into training people to
Mhm.
to identify the chicks, pull the chicks, package the chicks. So I was packaging up the chicks in labor. And then I told my husband, okay, they got to be shipped off. Today's the day. And he's like, your customers will understand. Like, you're in labor. They can wait a week for the chicks. I'm like, no, they cannot. Like, it must happen today. And he like drove them off to the post office and left me in labor. We're going to have a home birth. And he said it felt really weird to him. He's like, okay, I'm like driving away. Like, are you gonna be okay? I'm like, I don't think this baby's gonna be born, in the next hour. We're okay here. But an example of how I haven't had that balance very graceful, but that was one of those moments where I was like, I need to have this balance because
You've got to
this
change.
this is silly. So sometimes it takes really exaggerated experiences like that
Mm.
to highlight that. And having a separate space, we built a very small little shed,
Yep.
and that's my office, and it's outside of the house. And so I do all my work in the office. And then when I close that door, I know, okay, that's all I can give today. I do not answer emails on my phone anymore. I'm really careful about when and how I go on social media for sharing our information and really meter my time that way because it's very easy. It was easy for me to have it bleed into my everyday life. And
Mm.
I had to just ask myself, okay, what is my priority right now?
Yeah.
Is it going to be my family? Is it going to be work? And really getting brutally honest with myself in that.
So you have your shed and you can close the doors, which, I've got this office over my barn that I keep saying, I'm going to move into my office. I'm going to be move into my office. I have all these
Mhm.
excuses why I haven't moved into the office yet. And I'm listening to you and it's almost like God is saying, will you please move into the office? because because it's hard. My kids come home and I want to shut off and I don't.
Yep.
Um, I tell them just another minute, and then it becomes, a couple hours. So what are some of the other like boundaries that you put in for yourself to try to keep that distance where you and the farm are not becoming codependent?
What you just said about the just another minute to your children
Mhm.
is something that I've been guilty of, that my father was definitely guilty of. And I remember being a child and thinking, this stinks.
Mhm.
I don't want to be just another minute, because he was working hard for our family, doing the best he could and providing for us. And at the same time, I always felt I was feeling the passage of time of like, I'm getting older here. Eventually, I'm not going to be living in this house. Like, just another minute's going to turn to just another year. Like, you're missing out. And so when I heard myself saying that phrase to my children, it was another lightning bolt moment of like, I can't do this.
Mhm.
I'm not going to let my children feel that way. I had to get brutally honest with myself of, okay, why am I doing this? Why, like for you, why haven't you moved out into the office? Like
Yeah.
really getting honest and looking at that in ourselves, that's the part that needs to change. Because I could talk all day long about like, oh, there's all these practices. You could like ring a bell at the end of your work day and be like, I'm done. You could set like parameters on your cell phone and like put it in a different room where you're like, this is the boundary. I'm not going to look at my cell phone. But really, it's checking into our internal landscape. And for me, being super honest of I am putting work before my family. And I can't have it all at the same time. I cannot have a thriving family and a thriving business where I'm pulling myself 100% into both. Like it needs to be one or the other in this moment.
In this moment, I really love that. And I'm because I believe in brutal honesty with myself as with others. Um, I know that one of the challenges for me with sticking in work is that sometimes the work is a whole lot more satisfying than the parenting because and I love my children. Like please, I put a lot of time into my kids. Totally love my children. And yet there is something about having a job that you do and you create products or you get feedback. Like happy clients tend to give you positive feedback. Whereas how many times do you cook you spend all this time, you cook a meal and people are like, I don't want to eat that. And you're like, seriously? Like you clean the house and you turn around and then all of a sudden like all the stuff that you just put away it's all out again. And so for me, that there really is a sense where the parenting slash housework stuff, it never gives me the same sense of satisfaction because I never feel like it's done, and I never feel like it's being appreciated the same way that my outside work does. And it also feeds a really creative part of me, which is, part of me. And yet, I love my children and I want them to feel supported and I want them to have the best of me. And so I don't think I'm alone in that. Like, I think a lot of farmers, it's easier to focus on your business. It's less emotional to focus on your business. Like, I've got a child who's a little bit of a challenge. And so the amount of energy that has to go into that child is far more than I would ever spend on a full, like 10 minutes with him. This is often more energy than I will spend on a whole day of work. So that has been one of my challenges. And I wonder if you've had similar, if that was similar for you or different, and what helps you, because we all want to be there for our kids and our spouses, and we want to create a peaceful, restful home environment. And sometimes it just feels like a thankless task. So how do you help get yourself past that?
It's a huge question
I know. I'm good at
with
those.
with a really multifaceted answer. And for me, it was really digging into my internal landscape and asking, why am I finding more validation from work than I am in motherhood?
Mhm.
Is this my story or is this a story that's been given to me
Oh,
that
that's
it is more valuable for me to be part of the workforce than it is to be a mother?
mm,
What do I actually believe versus what has been shown to me?
mm. And isn't
And
that true in farming? Like, I feel like, I mean, it's true across the landscape for women, I think, but growing up in a multi-generational farm family, I definitely grew up feeling that the work you did on the farm was more valuable than the work that you were doing anywhere else. Like, it's always interesting because the girls would be expected to go out and work in the fields. Then we were supposed to stop working in the fields, go in, make coffee break. The guys would come in, we'd serve them coffee break. The guys would go back in the fields. We were supposed to clean up from coffee break and then go out and work in the fields. So, and yes, so it was like, well, the women aren't needed in the field. Like, it's not as important for them. So just go make us coffee break. And so it's really interesting that you say that. I'm like, oh, I might have to do some journaling on that, do some visual journaling and really, really tap into that because I
it
think
could be
that's a
looked at as
common,
both ways.
yeah.
It could be looked at as like, oh, well, the women aren't needed in the fields. Like, of course, we're the ones making the coffee. Of course, we're the ones cleaning up. That's one narrative. The other narrative is the men wanted to provide. And hey, we got to have a break. We got to go inside. We were chatting. We were making the coffee. We got to have a
Yeah.
different experience.
Mm,
What a beautiful thing if it's a healthy masculine that's holding the space of like, hey, we're wanting to provide. We could be doing the coffee. It's a lighter task. You could be out there like bucking straw,
mm,
or it could be the other way around. We want to provide for you.
right.
So it all depends on the family dynamic and how healthy was that masculine, how healthy was that feminine.
Mm,
Where are those stories coming from that so many of us have of like that femininity and motherhood and a woman's work isn't as valuable.
mm,
Some people genuinely don't want to be mothers. And
mhm.
that's a new concept. And some people
Where
kind of
does
look down on
it
that.
there though? Like, I think culture is finally realizing that not everybody needs to have children in order to have value. I mean, you know, there were so many reasons why having children has been so highly valued. We could go into, we could talk history and sociology and religion and all kinds of things with that. Um, but I do think it's kind of a healthier atmosphere for people who are like, I'm just not cut out for that stay-at-home mom thing, or how to figure out how to keep your professional life and your family life when, as you said, you can't do it all in the same moment. So
Mhm.
while you can have it all, you can't have it all at the same time. So how you figure out what that looks like, and you can't have it all in the same way. So again, that
Yes.
goes back to, I think, re-envisioning what farming looks like, or re-envisioning what it looks like to be a working woman, farm wife, all of those things. Um,
That's
yeah.
why I mean about tapping into the internal landscape.
Mm.
And you touch on it with the journaling. Like, what a powerful tool that's, free. Just get a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen and sit down, It costs you a little bit of time, but it's going to give you so much richness if you
Mm.
just allow your subconscious to bubble up a little bit and communicate with you with the written word. Because the answers are different for everyone as to
Yes.
what we get to be the authors of our lives.
Yeah.
What kind of a life do we want to live? And if we can't have it all at the same time, what is our timeline? And the
Mm.
only way to live life, I have found, and not have life live me, is to be doing, at the very least, a weekly check in with myself of, do I like the direction I'm going?
Mm.
Do I like the
Love
person I am right now? And if I don't, course correct.
it. Yeah.
If I let it go longer than a week, I notice things aren't going the direction I don't like. And the extreme demands of running a farm, and particularly the type of business I have
Mm.
of a hatchery, where I am at the mercy of the natural world, the weather, the USPS,
Mm.
the moods of
Oh,
my customers, the social media interactions. It's all filtering through me. And for me to be able to be in integrity and not just crumble into a pile of ashes,
mm.
I have to be really clear each week of what do I need to adjust and what kind of scaffolding and support do I need to bring on board so I can keep doing this work. Otherwise, I'm going to get myself into a really uncomfortable physical situation where I'm just exhausted and burnt out. And
Yeah.
I did that in 2020 and I'm not going to do that again.
Oh, yeah. That I did the same thing. 9 months. I had 9 months where I could hike 10 miles a day and have plenty of energy for that. I would come home and could not physically lift my laptop to work. Couldn't do it. Like, because my brain just finally was like, you are pushing too hard. There was way too much toxic stress built up. Just not well managed at all. And that is one of my passions now. Like, I don't want other people to end up there, because it takes a really long time to crawl back out of that hole.
Mhm.
And the challenges you face on the other side of that hole for a little while are a whole lot bigger than the ones that got you in there.
Mhm.
So once you get on stable ground, you've got more energy to deal with those. But wouldn't it be better if we could backtrack that and avoid getting down in that hole to begin with? And I think your weekly check-ins are so genius, because, then you can maybe go one step down into the hole and say, whoa, wait a minute. And if you have to back up that step and go around the hole, you can do that, or you can build a bridge. Like, then you can make all your plans. But when you're down in the bottom, then getting out is a whole lot harder. And so
Yeah.
I think sometimes we think that if we've got ourselves together at like any one given point in time, that's it. Like, we should be able to do it once and be on the right track and not have to worry about it again. And like you, I have found that it really is a constant process. And we have to be gentle with ourselves in that process, and to recognize that we are going to get off track. We are going to slip into old habits. We are going to let unhealthy patterns creep back in. And that's not a failure, that's a consequence of our humanity. And that then we just look at it and say, well, that happened. And now what do I do with that? And
Yep.
that acceptance of our frailty as people has been so important to me without the judgment, without the, oh, you're a bad person, you're a bad mom, you're a bad employee, you're a bad farmer, you're a bad whatever. No, we're just here. We're here where we are, and now we say, okay, I don't like this. How do I move
Yep.
forward? I just love that.
I'm a firm believer that every single circumstance and situation that comes up is for our betterment and for us to grow.
Yes.
Every single challenge
Mm,
is an opportunity to grow. And when we view it in that way, we can say, thank you for the lesson. I've learned it. And we can move on and
mhm.
not get stuck on it. Because I'll keep looping on that same challenge over and over and over until I get the lesson of it. And sometimes it's really sneaky and I'm kind of blinded to it. And it'll take me a month. And I'm like, I've been on this merry-go-round for a month. I'm ready to get off. And then I get off. But we
Yeah.
have to have that self-reflection to be able to see that,
Yeah.
so that we don't pull our families down with us, our businesses down, our farms down, our employees, the whole thing.
Yeah. And I think that's really, that's a great point that you just made too, that we think that taking care of ourselves is taking away from the farm, the family, the employees, and really giving to ourselves first and literally filling our tanks first is what we need to be able to have something to give to others. And I know that that has been said and resaid a million times, put on your own oxygen mask before you try to help somebody else. And yet it's true. And I think we have to keep repeating it because it's something that feels selfish to a lot of us. Like we want to be able to just give and give and give, especially I think as women. That's like something that we want to nurture, 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 and then somehow feel bad if we in turn need to be nurtured. But the truth is that we're meant to nurture each other. We're not meant to have one person nurturing and somebody else taking and not have that reciprocal. So like we have to work on that reciprocity. We have to work at taking care of ourselves so that we have something to give.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that can look so different for everybody. It
Mm,
doesn't have to be something expensive. It doesn't have to be a giant vacation. It could be something as simple as a cup of tea and
yeah.
5 friggin' minutes in the morning. And sometimes I'll do that where I just stand outside barefoot and I just look at the sunrise for 5 minutes. And I
Yep.
set a timer for 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes sometimes are agonizing. I could be XYZ. I should be XYZ. It's like, no, 5 minutes.
Oh,
Take a deep
I
breath.
just wrote about this. Like, if we cannot give ourselves 5 minutes a day, something's wrong with our lifestyle. Because
Exactly.
5 minutes? Seriously? Like, we're talking about the whole day,
Yeah.
24 hours, and you can't give yourself 5 minutes. Like we need to prioritize that. And I agree. Five minutes to write some things you're grateful for, 5 minutes to drink that cup of coffee and actually really savor it, not just bolt the coffee so that you can go and use the caffeine to get through your day, but actually like savor the flavor of the coffee, especially if you make like a yummy latte, a little bit
Mhm.
of vanilla in the cream and yeah. Mm. You smell it, put the cinnamon on it. Don't smell it too deeply. The cinnamon goes up your nose. You can done this before. But that being present in the moment for just a few minutes really can shape your whole day because you're also setting your system up and you're saying, okay, body, this is how I want to approach my day. I want to approach it in a spirit of gratitude, in a spirit of being present, as opposed to, oh my gosh, my feet have hit the floor and I'm already behind. No, you're not. You're not behind. You've
Yep.
got what you've got to do. What needs to get done will get done. If not, it didn't need to get done. It's okay. It'll be there tomorrow.
It took me many years. I just turned 40 this last year, but it took me, yeah, about 40 years to finally realize that I can do the same tasks, the exact same tasks, feeling anxious and behind of like, I have too much to do, or feeling like, yeah, it's all going to get done. It's the
Mm,
exact same tasks. It's the exact same amount of time. It's just my relationship to how I feel about them. So, really being honest with our internal landscapes of like,
yeah.
we are our authors of our lives.
Mm,
How do we want to feel?
yeah.
And really checking in with ourselves. A practice that was helpful for me that anyone can do is I would set an alarm on my phone
Mhm.
for 12. You could set any time you want of the day, and the alarm would go off and it just says, how are you feeling right now?
Mm,
And I would have to check in. And there were many days where I was like, I feel like my stomach's a little tight, like I'm running behind all these things. And so I would look at that and be like, and I need to take a breath.
yeah.
And it was one alarm every day just to highlight and break that cycle that I was in at that time of being in this fight or flight to get everything done that no human body is meant to sustain for too long. That gets us into all sorts of treacherous waters long term.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's where the burnout happens
Yep.
because that's what toxic stress is. Those little stressors can actually be the either the food for us to grow because we need some of that stress, kind of like your chicks breaking out of the egg, like they need the stress of breaking out of the egg. And yet, if the we were talking about this before, if the membrane refuses to break and they can't get out, it'll kill them. And that's when they need help. And so we want to use our stress in that really productive way where we're breaking out, we're getting stronger, we're prepared for the next thing, and not letting it come in and crush us so much by not taking those breaks and relieving that stress and casting that aside. Oh my gosh, I could like talk to you for another 3 hours. I just love this. Thank you so much for your time. I always ask people before we leave, if you had one thing that you would like farmers to know, what would that be?
Mm, gosh, that's such a good, wide question. One thing. Whenever you feel exhausted or like you want to give up, know that your work touches so many more people than you'll ever realize.
Mm.
And if you're working with integrity, you are having such a profound and positive impact on the world. Trust that and let that be your fuel for those hard moments and really breathe that in. All of the energy of the people that you're feeding, that you're nourishing, have it come back to you because that will give you the strength to keep going.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Francesca. Like, I just love that. I love the work that you're doing and the way that you're touching lives every day. You have certainly touched mine. Um, I really hope we can have you back on again sometime in the future. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. And
You
all of you
too.
out there, we will see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
How do you multiply by fractions, Mom?
Farmers calling, our show is all done. Goodbye, farewell, so long, adieu. See you next week, same time, same place for food, flowers, and fun. Go in peace. Visit us at www.penlightfarmers.com.